What if Deku was One Punch Man, Part 6. So, I know a lot of you guys wanted to see Overhaul, but it ended up going the exact same way with the All for One arc. So, I'll do something one step better. So, Deku, I'd say, is probably around 15. And I believe in the One Punch anime, Saitama is 23. So that is 8 years. Which, I'm going to say, Deku is going to train all throughout those 8 years. So, during that 8-year time skip until he's 23, he has been training. He's been doing his 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 100 push-ups, and 10-kilometer run each day. Until I'd say right around 3 years. After 3 years pass, and Deku and Genos, don't forget, is a female, ended up, having a kid. This kid would end up, I'd say, looking pretty much like a Zuko, but maybe with, straighter hair. So it looks like a Zuko, but with, straighter hair instead of, that spiky, curly type. Which end up 2-year time skip, or probably a month time skip after that. Zuko gets married with her, and they have a second kid 2 years after that. So now, once Deku's 23, he has a 5-year-old kid and a 3-year-old kid. And this 5-year-old kid just happened to be corkless. He got really sad, but don't forget, Deku is now the number 1 hero, with Genos as the number 2 hero. And everybody pretty much knows that they are corkless. So that gives them hope. But their kids always thought they were corkless because of how much power they have. They always thought that Genos had a robotic quirk, while Deku had a strength quirk. So keeping this in mind, they always thought that they're going to grow up to be some of the greatest heroes, since they always thought they'd either get their dad's quirk or their mother's quirk. But sadly, the 5-year-old kid, which I'm going to say they don't announce quirks until they're 5 in this timeline, ended up going to the doctor only to find out that he was quirkless. Deku, actually, never mind, they still get their quirks when they're 4. So he was pretty sad, but Deku ended up telling him he can still be a hero. So he's like, how? And that's when they tell him that they're both quirkless. He obviously asks how, and he's like, oh, it's because I've trained hard enough, and Genos here is half robot, so yeah, I'll teach you guys the ways of strength, but don't tell your brother or tell anybody else. This is an extremely wanted power by many, but nobody can compare. So they end up taking a 1-year time of training him up to where he can pretty much do 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, 25 squats, and 2.5-kilometer run, which he just boosts it up pretty much very slowly each month. So when Deku was walking around one day, he ends up spotting something. And now this thing was a massive purple ship. Deku, being Deku, just sends a punch at it, putting a hole through it, but the city ends up evacuating as the ship slowly comes down and destroys the city around it, but nobody was left in the city. So since nobody was left in the city, nobody got hurt. But since nobody got hurt, everybody's fine with it, but they're gonna have to rebuild it. Deku ends up destroying pretty much the whole ship. As remember, in One Punch Man, Boros' ship was off the ground. He ends up destroying the whole ship, obliterating it with a serious punch, but Boros ends up coming out. Boros says, I've traveled the cosmos training and I've been looking for a good challenge. So I hope you give me one of them. As Deku's like, I hope you give me a challenge too. It's pretty boring living here when nobody ever challenges me. As Deku chases off, and he starts using his serious punches, but not going full out, which Boros is able to keep up with, and they, start clashing. During this clash, Genos tries to help, evacuate and console the citizens, which she does pretty well. Now, doing this, Deku, fighting, as they keep going until he's hit through a building and he's like, it's finally time for me to go all out. As Deku starts powering up, and he says, serious punch, as he basically sends Boros flying, which I can't remember if Boros died or not really sure, but he ends up sending Boros flying, where he inevitably breaks the armor that Boros was wearing, which basically makes Boros stronger, until Deku uses his full power and kills him. Sorry, it could not be more interesting. So, Deku has become the greatest hero ever, as everybody considers him the best hero. And Deku's a hero well into, his 30s, 40s, 50s, even his 60s. I'd say, I'm not sure how strong the Master of Fist of Flowing Rock is. I'd say he's probably maybe 70. But Deku's that old, and yet he's still the number one hero. He's been the number one hero for over 50 years. That's how long he's been the symbol of peace, basically. But I'm going to go to where he's, I'd say maybe 35. Deku is watching as his second kid is going into UA, his first year, while his third kid is in his final year, or his first kid is in his final year. Both of them having unruly strength. Not compared to Deku's, though. I'd say they have the same strength he had when he was their age. So, they're both determined to train through all the hard times, and they just keep training and training, wanting to get stronger but knowing it's bored, as the only person that can pull up a fight to them is their father. Genos obviously ended up retiring. Even though she's half robotic, she still ends up retiring. And she ends up retiring, I'd say, around maybe the age of 40, so she can take care of her second-born or third-born child. Now, since Deku was the hero since the age of 20, actually, never mind. He's not going to be the first number one hero till the age of 70. He's going to be the number one hero until, I'd say, around the age of 50. Which, I'm going to say, both of his sons around, let's say, 25 and 20 respectively. So, he gives up the number one spot to both of his sons, who end up sharing it as they're pretty equal in strength. They end up sharing it, and that's known as the day that the number one hero retired, pretty much, air quotes there. He never truly retired. He still, does some hero work, but not as much as he did when he was the number one hero. He did less than when he was the number one hero, but he still did hero work. He would just walk around, with his hands in, behind his back, just walking around, waiting. And if a villain pushed him, thinking he was an old man, newer generations not really knowing him, he just punched them, take them to the police. they'd ask why he retired, and he'd end up saying to give the to give his sons the title. He didn't want to keep his sons from greatness. He still wanted his sons' greatness all up until Boros' son arrives. Just kidding. I mean, that could possibly be happening, but 3 One Punch Mans? Yeah, nobody can beat 3 One Punch Mans. I mean, maybe, like, this is probably one of the strongest series I've ever made, besides What If Deku had Goku Black and What If Deku had Ultra Instinct. Those guys could probably end up defeating this. I should do What If Deku War or something like that. I'm not sure. Like, with all my what ifs and, like, see which one's the strongest or something. Ooh, and before I do, I'd like to thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. And you guys, bye.